Hey, how's it going? I'm Jason with Draw for God, and I'm back with another episode of Discipleship Doodles. In the last episode, I talked about how Jesus told us to go and what that meant. This time around, I'm going to be talking about the cost of discipleship and how Jesus put it all out there for us to understand. I'm going to be talking about a few verses starting in Luke 14:25. This is where Jesus felt the need to explain to others about being his disciples. Discipleship is indeed challenging and the world is filled with quitters. Seriously. Most quit on God, their spouses, their children, their jobs, the list goes on. Quitting is the easy way out, and Jesus wanted to make sure that we knew what we were getting into. So we'll start with Luke 14:26. Jesus says, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple." Jesus mentions anyone. Anyone means everyone, not just pastors or elders or missionaries. He was talking about everybody. We all know that hate is a pretty strong word, but Jesus was talking about your choices over him. We are not called to be insensitive or to leave all feeling behind. I've heard a story about a young girl that was raised to follow a meaningless religion. As time passed, she discovered the truth and began to follow Jesus. When her parents, who practiced the same meaningless religion, found out, they disowned her. The father made her choose between him or Jesus. She chose Jesus. But think about it. How hard of a decision would that be to make? Pick one. The people and family that you know, or faithfully choosing to follow Jesus as he calls us to do. For the crowd that Jesus was speaking to, family was probably all that they had in those times, so I'm sure that they felt the pressure. If you want to follow him, you will need to put Jesus before everyone and everything. You must be willing to be disowned by your family and friends for your faith. God asks us to put him first in every thought and everything that we do. Jesus comes first, then family, and everything else after that. It's not like you have to pack it up and skip out of town and change your identity. Just put him first. It's a sacrifice and a full commitment. So here is a doodle of me choosing Jesus and saying, "Peace, see you later." Okay, so moving on, let's talk about carrying your cross. Luke 14:27, "And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple." For the disciples, the cross wasn't just a symbol of pain and suffering, it was a symbol of death. The cross was the instrument of death, and it was exactly what Jesus died on, and that's how we should still view it today. It's not a fashion symbol or a church decoration behind the pulpit. What Jesus is telling us is that we need to put to death our own selfish desires and then turn our lives over to him. This is not just a one-time thing either, it's every single day. We need to die to self and give up our self-centered plans, greedy ambitions, bad habits, and everything else that is outside his will that can separate us from the Father. As I grow closer to Jesus, there are so many things that he has helped me give up and turn away from. Addictions and bad habits will cause diversions in your journey with Christ, so it's important to listen and obey the Spirit when he tells you to put specific things to death. And believe me, he'll tell you. The biblical account of the rich man talking with Jesus in Mark 10:17-27 is a good example. This man comes to Jesus and falls on his knees, desperately asking the Lord, what should he do to inherit eternal life? Because Jesus knew that the man was rich, he told him to sell everything that he had and give it to the poor. The man had such a tight grip on his money and possessions, he ended up walking away disappointed because he simply didn't want to part with it. He chose money and things over God. Yikes. If you chase Jesus as hard as you chase the things that you think you want, you'll end up with more than you'll ever need. Think about it. How many times do we choose to put things in front of God? It happens much more than you realize. The Spirit nudges us to do these things, but do we listen? Just when you think that you've given yourself up and you are close to being pure and perfect, there's more to go. Right now, God is working on me and helping me battle fear, critical speaking, eating better, and after that, I know that there will be something else. The work is never done, but we have to choose to die to these things. Once again, Jesus is telling us to put him first and above all things. When Christ calls a man, he calls him to come and die. The next point I want to talk about is based on thinking it through. Jesus calls us to be his disciples, but have we really thought it through and considered everything involved? Luke 14:28-30. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, "This person began to build and wasn't able to finish." Seriously, sit down, take time, and think about what you're getting into. Are you ready to give yourself up for Him? Are you ready to put yourself aside and be willing every time that He calls? It's easy to say, "Yes, I'm ready," but 2 minutes later, it's easy to say, "You mean like right now, Jesus? Right now?" After Jesus explained about the tower, He also talked about a king preparing for battle. We find that in Luke 14:31 through 33. Or suppose a king is about to go to war with another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he's able with 10,000 men to oppose one coming against him with 20,000? If he's not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything, you cannot be my disciples. Again, Jesus is telling us, think it through. Understand what you're doing. Be thoughtful, endure, and not quit. Finish what you started. Remember what I said earlier? Discipleship is challenging, and the world is filled with quitters. Quitting is the easy and lazy way out, so Jesus wants to make sure that we know what we're getting into so that He can use us to the fullest. The final point that I want to talk about comes from Luke 14:34. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Salt is good and valuable. It seasons food, preserves, creates a thirst, and it even has cleansing properties in a wound. If salt loses these qualities, what is it good for? It becomes unusable and needs to be thrown out. In fact, it becomes so useless that it will only damage the ground or even kill the fertilization qualities that are within a pile of poop. If we don't have the full commitment to serve Him, what should He do with us? He doesn't want us to only serve Him when we feel like it or if it's convenient to us. As His disciples, we need to be willing to see things through all the way to the end. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Jesus is simply saying, are you getting all this? Do you fully understand what I'm saying? Are you really listening to this with the ears of your heart? Soak it in. He means business, and this is a serious issue with a lot of Jesus followers today. When the going gets rough, oh, it's quitting time. And there are some that don't even try in the first place. As long as we're coming to church every Sunday, we're good, right? There should be no difference between a disciple and a Christian. Jesus told us to go and make disciples, not some of you go and then some of you chill and take it easy. No. Think about this. Getting married is easy. It's the actual marriage that is the challenge. God calls us to so much more than just sitting in a pew. Remember, salvation is just not a prayer that you say and you go back to bed afterwards. Allowing Jesus to be the Lord of your life means that you're willing to serve Him and let Him take control. Discipleship is not a scary thing as long as we are willing to die to ourselves, just like Jesus asked us to. If you're determined to hold on to everything and try to follow Jesus at the same time, leave me a comment and let me know how that goes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.